What's up, YouTube? So today's topic, I'm gonna talk about how I view generational curses, and why I feel like it's spiritual and it's also scientific. Now, I'm not gonna get too much into detail when it comes to scientific because I don't want to put false information when it comes to facts and scientific shit. But I'm gonna talk about the basics of it. I'm also gonna talk about the spiritual sides of it, like how demonic entities and spiritual warfare plays a role into generational curses. So let's get to it. So how I view generational curses in 2024. Now, my opinion, I feel like it's both. I feel like it's scientific and spiritual because it's spiritual in a sense where because a lot of people also experience generational curses to where when it comes to narcissistic abuse, financial curses, losses, but more so narcissistic abuse. Yes, narcissism is scientific because of the system we're living in, which forces people to become traumatized because they're not living life, they're surviving. There is a thing called what's it called? I forgot what it's called, but it's where when people are born into poverty, they get traumatized because of that, because they lack finances. People not having enough money to pay their bills or to survive, that's traumatizing to people. That's actually a thing. But I feel like I blame the system on why people are so narcissistic and they're so traumatized and they're so damaged, and they're not tapped into their heart space, or they lacking empathy because of this world we're living in, because this world is ruled by money that doesn't sustain us to a certain extent. Where we're forced to work a lot of hours and a lot of days. We're forced to be overworked because of the system, and since that's the case, people, they're forced to not live life. They're forced to not enjoy life. They're forced to kind of be in survival mode in a sense. So that causes a lot of broken families and households, a lot of divorces, a lot of broken families and fights happen because of lack of finances. As human beings, our birthright to be free, in my opinion, or at least I hope so. But according to this realm, apparently not. So this is why we have a lot of enslavement, wars, and battles and shit going on throughout human history and shit like that. Maybe this is how this realm is. Maybe this is how God designed it. Who knows? But yeah. So I feel like this world, the system plays a role when it comes to generational curses, because it forces people to become narcissistic and traumatized. And when that happens, they vibrate extremely low. And once they vibrate extremely low, then they're susceptible to have negative entities and demonic entity attachment to their fucking aura or to their energy field. And then they use these people as vessels to harm innocent people or people who have important spiritual mission when it comes to their family members. They attack, they get the black sheep and escape up with the family. They gang up on that specific person. But so that's the scientific of it. I mean, no, was that scientific? No, I think that was a spiritual. No, I guess that's scientific, but more so scientific in a way, because what creates narcissists is trauma. Now, what creates trauma is the system. Why is it that we have a lot of broken families and people who are very evil and people who commit crimes in the first place? Why is that? Because of the system we're living in. Because the system is not fair. We're all enslaved. We can't really navigate through life. We can't do the things we do unless we work for the system. There's nothing wrong with working, but the only problem is that we're being overworked and underpaid. That's the problem. And what makes it worse is that there's actually worse situations in these third world countries and stuff like that, and with all these wars and battles and corrupt government. Well, in here too, but just everything going on and shit like that. So that plays a role. So now, why is it spiritual? I feel like it's spiritual because there's been a lot of reports of people come across narcissistic family members, but narcissistic people in general, where their eyes would change, their facial features would change and shit like that, where their eye pupils would turn to pitch black. There's a lot of reports of that, or just how they act and how they make you feel in general. I'm not talking about all people. When I say narcissist, I'm not talking about everyone. I'm talking about people who are narcissists. It's hard to explain, because I do feel like narcissism is scientific and also spiritual, but I do believe it is a personality disorder to a certain extent. It's not their fault, but there are other instances where I genuinely do feel like there are other instances of people who are actually demonically possessed. I'm not talking about people who are arrogant or egotistical. As human beings, we're all egotistical, we're all arrogant to a certain degree. I'm not talking about that. We all have narcissistic traits. I'm talking about people who are just downright fucking crazy, right? But people who and yes, I'm talking about psychopaths, serial killers, but I'm also talking about people who are very sinister and shit like that. Because there are people like that. I've dealt with people and family members like that. It is a real thing, and it's like it's weird though, because these people who do that is like I see the good in them, but it's like they can't like. It's like a negative entity or demonic entity that's kind of influencing them to do a lot of harmful shit based on their upbringing or based on what they've been through and shit like that. Out of survival, because all narcissistic people who are very crazy and downright evil, they do the shit they do because of survival. That's it. It's just survival. So that makes my point, because if we're not living life for surviving, then that's a problem, because this life forces people to survive, whether it be screwing people over, emotionally manipulating people, stealing people's money, scamming, or like harming other people to get their emotional needs met. And the reason why what creates narcissistic people and people who have a lot of like traumatic issues, like abandonment issues, rejection issues, I have those to a certain degree, like it's because because their family members failed to take care of them. Why did their family members fail to take care of them? Because more likely these family members were focused on how to survive so they could get by, because sometimes parents don't have enough time to spend time with their kids. They're forced to work a lot, and when that happens, they're not able to emotionally bond with their children as much, and that creates like abandonment issues and rejection issues for these kids growing up. And once they grow up, they attract toxic relationships and shit like that. But now, why do I think it's spiritual? I think it's spiritual because why is it that a lot of people, it's easy to pinpoint that. Me, like, I like to think things outside the box. I like to put two and two together, and I like to use my intuition and common sense. I personally feel like, I mentioned this in all my videos, you guys don't have to agree, but I feel like everything is pre-planned by a God or like a higher power or the universe. Not in a good way, yes, in a good way to a certain extent, but also in a bad way. I personally feel like all the abuse and all the bullshit we had to go through was pre-planned by a fucking divine entity or divine orchestration. I do believe in that. This is why you have certain people who are meant to break generational curses, and same people who are meant to break generational, I mean, we're all meant to break generational curses, but more so people specifically, like when it comes to like narcissistic abuse and shit like that, they all have similar life paths. Why is it that people who are meant to, you can see on YouTube, people who are born, like, for example, I'm using the twin flame label. A lot of people who experience twin flame relationships, these people all came from the same background of like narcissistic abuse, trying to break generational curses, and they're all damaged people. I mean, I'm part of it too. So it's like, why is that we all have the same life path and shit like that? We all experience these same spiritual connections. Why is that? You know what I'm saying? And how they talk about their life stories, this shit all adds up to like, it just seemed like a higher entity of the universe was kind of planning or orchestrating that shit. So I'm not sure if God wanted us to experience this, God forced us to experience this, or we chose to experience this, or maybe it's a coincidence, which I doubt it, because if it was a coincidence, then it wouldn't be happening to a lot of people. I get it, free will and the devil's at work and these demonic entities, but still though, you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, you know what I'm saying? So, what was I gonna say? Yeah, but I feel like it's spiritual though, because all this shit people have experienced and been through when it comes to like them dealing with narcissistic family members and people, how their facial features change, how their eyes dilate, how they make them feel, how low they make them feel, all like how they're able to switch up their emotions, like they act like they're demonically possessed. It's not that hard. There's a lot of stories and like real life experiences that what people have been reported, and the shit they do is not normal. Humans don't do that. Demonic entities do that shit. Demonic possession. I've dealt with family members like that and how they're able to like switch up their emotions and like just how they're able to switch up their emotions, just how they're able to manipulate and lie. It's not just one family member, like they all do this shit, they all work together. It's like, and not only that, but I was sensing a lot of bad energy. I've experienced a lot of like spiritual phenomena in my old house when I used to live with my family. So there's a lot of crazy shit, a lot of crazy ass shit. So that's when I knew, like, no, this isn't normal, this is some spiritual shit. And ironically, a lot of people experience the same things I've experienced when it comes to like